Got a message a little bit earlier, a question from one of the clients about intermittent fasting. I figured why not just hop on here and just talk about it so we can really all get a good understanding of what it is. A lot of you all are already doing it with your meal plans, but I just figured this would be a good idea to like really, not go too in depth because I'm gonna do an actual breakdown video with the different styles and different ways you can do it because you can customize it based around your needs, all right? And that's the purpose of it. So let's just start by the basics. So, what is intermittent fasting? Basically, it's just time restricted eating. All right. If you think of it that way, it's when you eat all of your food, all of your meals within a certain period of time, right? Eating windows, what you can call it. Does intermittent fasting work for fat loss? Let's talk about that. Yes, obviously, I have it within your meal plan. So, of course, I'm only give you the things that work. But why does it work? It works based off of the first law of thermodynamics, right? Basically, just energy balance. And energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred from subject to subject. And when it comes to our bodies, our body composition, it's all about calories in versus calories out. All right. So there's two spectrums. Let me see this here. All right. So we take in calories through food, and then we burn off calories through activities, exercises, just the things that we do on a daily basis. So a calorie deficit is just consuming fewer calories than our body needs to maintain our current weight, right? Or burning off more calories than our body needs to maintain our current weight, or the both of them together, right? So when we take in too many calories to our body and we're not burning those calories off, that's going to cause us to gain weight. If we're taking in too few calories, or if we're not taking in as many calories as our body needs for energy, that's going to cause us to lose weight. Right now, if we're taking in the correct amount, the specific amount of calories that our body needs to maintain our current weight, that's going to cause us to stay at the same weight. All right. So that's called calorie maintenance. When you're eating at the amount of calories that you need to maintain your current weight, that's your calorie maintenance. Now, when you're taking in fewer calories than your body needs to maintain its current weight, the current state that you're in, your current physique, that's a calorie deficit. Now, the reason we utilize a calorie deficit is because we want to lose some extra weight. We want to lose some body fat. Now, why does intermittent fasting help with this? Well, I'll talk about me specifically because I know for myself, um, I'm a person that has a big appetite. I like to eat a lot of food, right? Um, and I'm more satisfied when I can have bigger meals. So what I do, as opposed to just having a lot of small meals throughout the day, I'll have like two bigger meals, right? So let's just say, example, if I'm having a lunch and a dinner, right? I'll have, this is just a random example, but 2,000 calories for the whole day. One meal will be like 1,000 calories, and then the dinner would be, another 1,000 calories, and that would have me in my calorie deficit. So I'd rather have that than a bunch of smaller meals like, 500 calories for this meal, 500 for this meal, 500 and 500 split between the day, right? Now it's based around what works best for you because something works for everyone. You don't have to have a specific way of eating. Now, the reason why intermittent fasting can work for you is based off of your schedule. Let's just say you have a busy schedule. You wake up in the morning, you gotta go. You gotta take the kids to school. You gotta drop them off. You gotta get into work by a certain time. You don't have a lot of time to prep and cook, make breakfast, and all those different things, right? Well, what you can do is push those morning calories, those breakfast calories, off until around lunchtime, all right, in the afternoon, and that's when you can have your first meal. Then you can have your dinner later on that night. So basically, a good way to start off when it comes to intermittent fasting is just figuring out what works best for your lifestyle. What is something that you can stick with for the rest of your life? You don't want to go into the whole dieting phase where you're doing these short-term diets to lose a little bit of weight because that's how we all mess up, right? We choose a diet, whether that's in the past maybe we've all done it where we've done like you know keto or Weight Watchers or Atkins, low carb, high carb, paleo, all those different type of things. All those are just like short-term diets, and they can be long-term if you actually enjoy eating that way, but those aren't necessarily sustainable for the majority of us. So as opposed to doing that, it's better to actually learn how to eat the right way, right? To eat with purpose, as opposed to just eating for short-term results. So if you know for a fact that your schedule allows you to eat multiple meals throughout the day, and you know you have a lot of time, whatever it may be, maybe you may not need the intermittent fast. Maybe you rather have your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, and those type of things. But if you're busy, you don't have a lot of time to eat, you don't have a lot of time to cook, intermittent fasting may work perfectly for you. It allows you to have that big meal for lunch or the big meal for dinner, or just push your calories out or push them back until later on in the day. You don't have to have just two meals. It could be however many you want, but you're just not having that breakfast and you're restricting those calories for a specific amount of time. Now, that can be a 16-hour fast, a 14-hour fast, however long you want the fast to be, but it's more so about when you're actually eating your calories in a day, whatever period that you're having, you have the specific amount that you need to not overdo it, right? To not eat over the amount of calories that your body needs. You got to still stay within your calorie deficit. Intermittent fasting is not a magical thing where you can eat as many calories as you want as long as you're eating within this time period. You still have to be in a line with your deficit, all right? So, how should you get started, right? How should you go about your starting your fast if you're not used to it? Let's just say you're used to eating breakfast, but you want to try to do fasting. Maybe let's just say you start off with a smaller window, right? Smaller eating window or a smaller fasting window. You know, maybe you stop eating at 10 p.m. at night, right? That's the last time you have the meal. Your next meal won't be until 10 a.m., and that's a 12-hour fast. All right. And then once you get used to that, not having breakfast and pushing it off until 10 a.m., then you may want to push it back a little bit until 12. So your last meal is at 10 p.m. And then your first meal the next day is at 12 in the afternoon. That's a 14-hour fast, right? And then once you get used to that, maybe that last meal at 10, you make that last meal at 8 p.m. All right, so your first meal is at 12 p.m., your last meal is at 8 p.m., and that's a 16-hour fast. So it's just slowly adjusting so that you can get used to position yourself to eat only within this time frame, right? From 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that's when you're gonna have your meals, right? That's a 8-hour eating window, and then a 16-hour fasting window. So that's a good way to structure it out so that you can make sure that you're staying within your calorie deficit while also fasting. Now, what's also beneficial is realizing that you don't have to eat specifically. What's the best way to put it? You don't have. So if you are fasting, let's say your eating window was 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. You don't have to just have a certain amount of meals within that time. However many meals you want to have between 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. is up to you, right? So let's just say you didn't have breakfast, but you still want 3 meals. You can have a meal at 12, you can have a meal at 4, and then your last meal at 8 or 7, all right? And you're still eating within your fasting window. So it's not about how many meals you're having, it's about structuring it out based around what works best for you, right? So maybe you still have 3 meals for that day, but you just eat them between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. All right. So figuring out what works best and how to split your calories up so that you can enjoy what you're doing, so you can enjoy how you're eating, is really beneficial to just play around. All right. Because there isn't one specific way that you have to eat. You don't have to just have, you know, a meal at 12 or a meal at 4, a meal at 8. Like you got to figure out what works for your schedule because that's what's most important. The best diet that you can do is the one that you can stick to for the long term. The one that you can see yourself eating for the rest of your life, that you will enjoy eating, that will also help you stay on point with your goals. So figure that out first, all right? And the only way to figure that out is by experimenting. So when we give you your customized meal plan, the meal plans that you receive when you sign up for the coaching program, use it as a guidance, all right? Use it as a baseline, all right, to experiment. Now, the goal is for you to stay within those calories, all right, but play around with the meal timing. That's what we always say. As soon as we go over it on the onboarding call, use those times as just reference points, but adjust them based off of what works for you, right? Because maybe your schedule may change, maybe your work hours may change, or maybe you can't take a lunch break at the specific time. Just figure out the best times to have your meals. So if you can't have your meal at 12, you got to eat it a little bit earlier at 11. That's completely fine. If you break your fast a little bit earlier, there is no hard and straightforward rules, right? And that's why we say use your snacks as your secret weapons. Maybe you get hungry before your fast, before you're supposed to break your fast. Let's just say 12. You can have that snack ahead of time at 10 a.m., right? So you can play around with these things. Nothing is straightforward. It's all about what works for you, all right, and making adjustments. That's the purpose of the coaching program, to teach you that you can play around with all these options, and it's always based off of what works for you. That's why the meal plans are customized. We don't just give you what we give everybody else. You may have some of the same meals as everybody else, but the calories and the times that you eat them, the days that you eat them, all of those things are based around what works for you. All right. So even if a certain meal is on a certain day, have it a different day. Let's just say you have the vegan mac and cheese on, we usually give the vegan mac and cheese on Sundays and Mondays. Maybe have it on, Fridays, or a day where you have a little bit more time to cook. So just play around with those things. That's a little bit more specific. But fasting, going back to that, just view the intermittent fasting as a way to make eating more convenient, right? And make it more enjoyable. Now, when it comes to the diets in general, I don't really view intermittent fasting as a specific diet. I view that more as just a strategy, just an eating strategy, right? Because a diet, that's a hard, like, you don't have to eat anything specifically when you're doing intermittent fasting, right? You can do like a keto diet and still do intermittent fasting. You can do, like a high carb diet or something like that and still do intermittent fasting. So it's not a specific diet. It's not a way of eating necessarily. It's just a way of timing your meals so that you can eat them within a specific eating window, if you want to put it that way. And also, just to touch back on the dieting piece, when it comes to those diets, whatever diet it is, they're all vehicles, right? Like keto, Atkins, paleo, high carb, low carb, they are more so just a means to an end to get you to a destination, because they all work the same way, which is putting you in a calorie deficit, right? None of them are special. It's not like if you eat keto, it's going to make you lose more weight than eating high carb or anything like that. They all work because they have you in a calorie deficit at the end of the day, right? It's the difference between, let's just say, like, I'm actually about to go to the grocery store, right? But let's just say, when I'm going downstairs to the grocery store, maybe I hop on my bike, right? Or maybe I hop on my scooter, or maybe I hop on my skateboard, or maybe I take the car, or maybe I take the truck. All of those are just vehicles to get to where I'm trying to go, which is the grocery store. They are going to help me get there, but maybe one of them is sustainable and the other one isn't. Maybe I can sustain getting the truck and going to the grocery store 24/7, like anytime, any season, because I got a roof over my head. I can't really ride my bike all year long to get to the grocery store, right? That's not sustainable when it's raining and snow storming and all that stuff outside. So it's just a vehicle to get to where you're trying to go. That's the same way the diets work. All these different type of diets, they aren't a specific, they don't have any magic powers. They all work differently, and it is different strategies to get you where you're trying to go, which is weight loss. So keep that in mind. None of them are special, right? They're all just vehicles. So that's just some insight with that. But I hope this was helpful. Hopefully, this cleared up a few things when it comes to intermittent fasting, like what it is, the purpose. You don't have to do it any specific way. There are a ton of different intermittent fasting approaches. They have some called lean gains. There's a 5-2. There's a whole bunch of different fasting strategies within intermittent fasting, right? Which just goes to show that there's so many different ways of eating, and none of them are hard and fast rules. They're all based around what works for you, what you can enjoy. And I want you to try the different fasting approaches if you even do want to do that. Because eating 3 meals per day, having a breakfast works just as good as fasting, right? But it's specific based on you and your schedule. Maybe you can't sustain waking up every single morning and making a big breakfast, right? Maybe your schedule doesn't allow that, or you just don't want to wake up earlier to do that. You don't have to. You don't have to force yourself to make a breakfast thinking that that's the only way to lose weight. There's a whole bunch of different strategies and approaches just based off of what works for you. But they all work at the end of the day the same way, which is putting you in a calorie deficit, right? So hope that helped. I'm about to head to the grocery store. I'll probably do a little bit of live. Maybe I'll go live in the grocery store. I don't know. We'll see. Or at least I'll make a video if I don't go live, because you know grocery stores get kind of reckless. All right. Catch you all later, family. Peace.